Okay, Prasanna Gadve says, why has Russia failed in Ukraine? As Russia has not succeeded in doing in achieving what they it wanted to achieve. Why Xi Jinping told his army to be ready for war? Okay, one question at a time. Let's talk about Russia. Um, have you heard of the Peloponnesian War? The Peloponnesian War was a massive geopolitical conflict that tore apart the Greek islands. The Greek islands. This happened in roughly 2,500 years before today, roughly 2,500 years before today. The Peloponnesian War. It was essentially a war between Athens and Sparta. And the Greek historian Thucydides chronicled the war. He wrote a very important account of the Peloponnesian War. Now, this war, it lasted more than 3 decades. So let's say it starts in year X, okay, in year X, and 2 years after the war, or 3 years after the start of the war, you could say, why has Athens not succeeded in doing what it wants, or why has Sparta not succeeded in achieving its objectives? And it would be a valid question. And the achievement of the objectives and the conclusion of the war was going to happen 30 years down the line. So it doesn't mean that in year three, either side has failed or succeeded. Some wars last a week, some wars last a year, some wars last 30 years, 40 years. So if a war lasts 40 years, you can't look at year three and say that why has so and so side failed. Okay? It all depends on a number of factors: the geography, the technology, the relative strength of both sides, the overall large scale, big picture geopolitical environment, so many factors. So, this assumption that you are putting forth, this statement that you are making that Russia has failed, I don't agree with it. In the beginning of this today's episode, somebody asked me a different question. I said currently it's a frozen conflict, but Russia has the upper hand. Russia clearly has the upper hand. Of course, if you read the Western media and also the Indian media, you will come to the opposite conclusion. I don't blame you for that, but it is. I mean, how much Ukrainian territory does Russia hold? About 20%, 25% of Ukraine is under Russian possession right now. You think Russia is failing, really? So you have to look at things objectively. You have to reach your own conclusions. You cannot parrot other people's conclusions. That's called dogmatic thinking. That you use the results of other people's thinking and you think it's your own thinking. No, that's not how it works. Please learn critical thinking. Ask question after question after question. What is Russia's objective? What is Ukraine's objective? Who is supporting Ukraine? Who is supporting Russia? Is Ukraine acting on its own, or is Ukraine someone's proxy? If it is somebody's proxy, whose proxy is it? And what does that big power want? And what does Russia want? And what has Russia achieved thus far? What has Ukraine achieved thus far? Which side has suffered more losses? Which side has more arms, ammunition? Which side has the more territorial gains? Which side has lost territory? If you put all of these things together, ask question after question, multiple questions, a string of questions, then you will come and uncover the truth. And the truth is that Russia has the upper hand and Russia is going to win this war. How can you say Russia has failed? Just because they have not achieved certain objectives as of today doesn't mean they have failed. When I start running a marathon, which is 35 kilometers, after if I am at number, if I am in the 20th position after 5 kilometers, you cannot say that I failed. You understand? So please analyze things dispassionately, analyze things using your own intellect, not using the conclusions presented by your favorite newscaster or news anchor, news reader, or podcaster, or favorite media outlet, whichever it is. Use your own thinking, question them all, assume they are all wrong, and try to look at flaws in their arguments and conclusions. That's how you learn how to think critically. Without the ability to think critically, you will not succeed anywhere in life. Please understand this. So, Russia and Ukraine are currently involved in a frozen conflict. It's a long war scenario. Reminds me of certain wars, like the Peloponnesian War. I gave you the example of it. Lasted decades, but eventually, what happened happened. Athens fell. Sparta won. But then, yeah, so that was the conclusion of the conflict. But then lots of other things happened. Athens, a century later, Athens was there again. So that's how it goes.